Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Animorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time and talk about it every week. Except for this week, where we actually watched the TV show instead. This time we watched episodes number 9 and 10 of the first season. That's part 1 and part 2 of The Capture. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden, the sniffle box.
Oh, Braden's fucked up.
Yeah.
He got hit by a truck, and then the truck licked his butthole, and I think he got, car flu.
Sorry,
Nice.
fucking what?
Yeah, we're going to ignore that. We're also joined by our classic TV show guest, Jared McClure.
Hey everyone, glad to be back. Even if I do have to watch this show more.
Yeah,
Hey, Jared.
it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Before we get into it, let's just cover 2 quick pieces of fan mail.
Fan mail! Ooh, yeah! Fan mail! Ooh, yeah!
So the first piece of fan mail is from Classic Fan Mail. You'll know them from past fan mail segments. This time, Movie Polls pointed us towards... do you guys remember Boy Meets World?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Ryder Strong. Do you know who that is?
No.
Yeah,
I
sure.
played somebody in that show.
He's Sean. He played Sean. Okay, so he has a podcast called Literary Disco. So free ads for Sean Hunter's podcast.
I mean, he's always shouting us out, so it makes sense that we shout him out.
Yeah.
Well, Ryder Strong did not shout us out. Let me make that clear. But he did talk about Animorphs on his show. So if you want to hear a troubled teenage boy, which is as what I'm assuming he still is in real life now in 2018, talk about Animorphs, go to that.
As opposed to this show where you're all well-adjusted adults.
Jared, it's not too late for me to kick you fucking off.
Fuck you, Jared. I smoke now.
Yeah, we can tell. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
That's how I handle my stress instead of dealing with it. Like an adult does.
If you guys want to check that out, the podcast is called Literary Disco, and it is episode 83.
Ooh.
Do it up. Second piece of fan mail, just a quick one from May, who was asking whether or not we could separate the feeds for the 2 shows, Live from the Gardens and the main show. We can't, largely just because we pay for the feed, so it's not really worth it to separate it.
Yeah.
However, you can watch or listen to rather just either the book episodes or the TV, or the Live from the Gardens, or any sort of a lot of different combinations you can watch on YouTube. They're all separated into playlists. They're not videos. They're just like a static image.
You
but
can watch them
listen
if
to
you
it on
want,
there.
though, because, halfway through each episode, not, at the direct mark, but at some point in the episode, Mikhail adds a little sneak peek of, some sneak peek of what we're going to be talking about next. So watch those videos closely and see if you can see it.
They're lying. It's just a quick snapshot of Braden's dick, Fight Club style.
I was actually going to say it's a close-up of the underside of his scrotum.
I'll have you know, no one has ever gotten a photo of my genitals. And they've tried,
That you've seen.
but they haven't.
That you know of,
Sorry,
yeah.
what was that, Braden? No one's gotten a photo of your genitals?
You're not funny, Tessa. You're the weakest link of this
Shit.
podcast.
Anyways, it's probably worth mentioning also that we are considering restructuring our Live from the Gardens to be a little bit more Animorph focused soon. Hopefully not very long after these TV episodes air, because we'll be doing TV episodes for the next 4 podcast episodes.
Woo!
Yeah, and then maybe expect a little fresh take. Maybe not quite so much us just guessing at how animals, put the P in the V.
It is, we have to say, because it is October, we're going to the spookiest thing of all, the Animorphs TV show.
Yeah.
Okay.
How did this get made?
How did this get bade?
God damn it. Is this... Okay, guys, if you try it a third fucking time, you better mix it up. Or else, I swear to fucking God, I will burn this podcast to the ground.
Shit. Not the first time that threat's been made. So let's jump into the summary for The Capture Part 1, which was a Jake episode. This is directed by a man named William Fruitt and written by a name that you'll see many times in this series, Neil Schusterman.
Schusterman.
This was released, 20 years ago in 1998, November.
Like almost, like really fairly close to like 20 years to the day. We're like a month off, but...
Yeah, I mean, today's October 15th, so it came out November 3rd. So that's actually really close.
We're not far off at all. That's
2
pretty
weeks
sweet.
out. Wow.
The 20-year anniversary of... Okay, anyways. Jared, you're up. Let's hear that summary, bro. For those of you who don't know, Jared is from the Two Nerds in a Podcast.
What?
Two Nerds in a Podcast?
I mean, well, yeah, you're right, technically.
Yeah. Two Nerds in a Basement podcast, which summarizes and comments on every single superhero thing.
The good, the bad, and the ugly, every single one.
The movies, yeah. So he's an expert summarizer. So hit me with that.
Well, we start off this two-parter episode with not one, not two, not three, but 4 different cuts that don't involve the story at all.
Yep.
Yeah. I think this might be a symptom of like the VHS or YouTube versions of this. Just a warning.
I'm pretty sure somebody on Twitter said that when we did the first couple episodes here.
There's special just for the VHS.
Yeah, but I've yet to see anything that doesn't have that, and I do definitely remember watching like the pilot. I definitely remember that like beginning Jake intro.
Oh, like on YTV in the original.
Yep.
Oh.
I bought a few episodes off Google Play, and they didn't have the intro, so I don't fucking know what that means.
Weird, but we get 2 flashbacks first. We get a flashback from Cassie starting it off, and she basically gets into her, like, this isn't just about us, it's about the animals. And then she says it's about the animals roughly 380 more times.
Yeah.
And
Cassie.
Gosh, I wonder where they got that in the TV series. Who looked at the character of Cassie from the books and said, I have nothing to go off except her, like, ubiquitous, overbearing love of nature.
All right. So, yeah, all we really get from this intro anyway is that we know Cassie likes animals, because if you've already made it to episode 9 and you don't know that Cassie likes animals, they really needed to reinforce that.
Well, we also know that people can change, right? In the sense that they can change literally when they morph into animals. That's another thing she mentions over and over again. And I hate it.
It's so bad.
It's a theme.
It's a double meaning.
It's a something.
I guess. It's terrible.
And then, of course, so this one ends and you think, oh, cool, show's going to get started. Wrong. We need to hear from Rachel.
Whoever shot Rachel's intro is terrible because it's so much static. It's always moving around, and it looks like she's in like some model house that's being shown to people who want to buy a house.
Oh, this is a show home for sure.
Yeah, show home, that's the word.
Yeah, the editing is terrible.
And that's the thing, it's like constantly cutting from one angle to another, but she's following it too. So it's like she's stopping, setting up the camera again, stopping, setting up the camera again, and then at the end she goes to it and like goes to turn it off. I'm like, bitch, you're not shooting yourself. There's, like, you conned your little sister into doing this. I remember she had a sister.
She has
good
2, but we've only seen one of them so far, hey?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, I didn't even remember that.
Uh-oh.
I remember because she came out in, like, one of the earlier episodes when Tobias was there. He's like, is that your boyfriend?
Yeah.
She's like, shut the fuck up, go back inside.
And then she gave her sister a necklace when she was worried her sister would die because now she's aware of mortality.
Jeez, this show's dark as shit.
Classic children's show themes. Mortality and little sisters.
So I honestly don't even remember what the fuck she says.
I don't. I think I was
it's just
in
more
shock
garbage.
that she was just like actually speaking again.
She says like, I'm dealing with my parents' divorce and I love Tobias. The end. That's basically it.
And then, so we're like, okay, now the show's got to start, right? Not really. It's Jake just summarizing the entirety of the show.
It's all in your head.
This isn't even the fucking intro song. This is just Jake, like, talking about, like, oh, yeah, we could turn into animals. Cats, dogs, tigers, anything. Like, yeah, we know
So
what
two
animals
cats, basically.
Yeah.
Good examples. We can turn to a cat, like a tiger and a lion and a dog.
Yeah. Yeah, we can turn into dogs, wolves, dingoes, anything.
Jackals. Coyotes.
So, and then you're like, okay, the show's gotta start. But wait, they haven't played the fucking intro yet.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
they
So we
sing
finally
the
get the
song.
intro. It's all in your head. You've heard everybody sing it before. And I don't want to say us because it's just Braden and Tessa singing it.
Yeah. We're always the musical guests.
That's true. That's very true. We finally then get to start the goddamn show after about 15 goddamn minutes. But it shows Jake and his family. They're sitting down in a nice restaurant. They're just munching on some food. Jake is reminiscing about how badass his brother is. And his dad is just so fucking oblivious and, like, not at all on this planet anymore. He's like, oh yeah, I can come play games. I remember that game. I was at that game. She's like, no, you were at the clinic.
I know. What is the
the
point of that conversation? Just like, yeah, Jake's dad has Alzheimer's or something? Like,
I think because by the end of this story, it's sort of I think what they were trying to go for was this overarching theme of connecting Jake back to his brother, because he's kind of started at this point, at the start of the episode, he started to, like, resent his brother and hate his brother as not disconnecting his brother from the Yeerk. And by the end of the episode, for reasons that we'll get into, obviously, he sort of learns to forgive his brother and separate him from the Yeerkhood.
I think it also
right.
sets up that Jake's dad has been working so hard on this very important clinic that we've literally never heard about before. To
yeah.
kind
And
of
maybe-
set up
maybe
about how
that's-
important it is.
And maybe that's why they're saying to be like, this is their reason to be like, oh yeah, we never really showed Jake's dad because he was working all the
he
time,
was working
remember?
all the time. Remember? He's busy. He's a busy working man.
So yeah, it's essentially just showing that, like, Jake's dad has not been super present over the past 2 years. They really make a point of saying, like, can you believe I made it in 2 years? Sure, man. I don't know how hard it is to build a fucking clinic. Get off my back.
If it's as hard as fixing our roads, yuck, 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 yuck.
Yuck. So they're eating and they're kind of just having a fam jam moment, and then all of a sudden we see a man in a poorly fitting suit walk into the restaurant.
Everyone looks at him.
And then it cuts away, and it cuts back, and it cuts away, and it cuts back.
Jake keeps twisting behind in his chair like he can't believe what he's seeing.
And then it finally pans up to his face, and we see not Kevin Spacey, but because they couldn't afford him, but this 2-bit Kevin Spacey, who we recognize as Visser 3.
He's
Eugene
better than Kevin
Lipinski
Spacey.
is not a 2-bit Kevin Spacey.
Yeah, no, it's...
Hey, Eugene Lipinski never tried to give a hand job to an underage cast member.
We don't know that.
Well,
Don't fucking drag his name through the mud. Jesus Christ.
Calling you out, Eugene. You're a 2-bit Kevin Spacey.
He's great. He's everything I've ever wanted Visser 3's human morph to look like, though. Every time I see him, I'm like, yeah, that's fucking Visser 3. That's what an Andalite, that's what a Yeerk inside an Andalite would think a human should look like. Like it's some scowly bald man in an
7
ill-fitting
degrees
suit.
of separation as to what a human looks like.
Just like, "Marr, marr."
But so he sits there, and all of a sudden he walks up to Jake's dad, and they get up and they hug it out, and they have a moment, and they're like, "Oh my!" Jake freaks out internally and goes, "Oh my God, he knows him! He knows Mr. 3! Oh God!" And for some reason he decides, like, "Oh, sit! I'm going to sit and join you," because I did not hear anybody invite him to sit down. Did you?
No, I did not. He just kind of joined. I mean, he's Visser 3.
Victor Trent does not need an invitation, Gerald.
He just decides that he's going to crash this family's dinner.
Do you think that they picked the name Victor Trent because it's the same amount of syllables and starts with the same letters as
Yeah.
Visser 3?
because
Oh
it
my
sounds kind of like Visser
God.
3.
Probably.
I just realized that. That's
Just
so
realized
lame.
that.
Or maybe it's so that a certain character later can say Victor in a really weird way. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Victor.
Victor.
Victor. two separate words. So they sit there and they're having this nice fancy meal, and they decide that they're going to order the escargot. But for some pretty weird reason, Visser 3 and Tom are just not at all interested in these butter-covered snails.
Which, they're delicious. Come on, Visser 3, just let your human morph enjoy some food for once.
This part of the scene is way too long.
Yeah.
They eat this escargot for roughly 3 minutes.
Oh, Jesus
Trent
Christ.
Ashner as Jake just picks it up
Sean Ashmore.
Picks it up and chews at the edges of these tiny little snails just so disturbingly delicately. It's the dumbest shit I've seen in a long time.
Because, like, you see his dad eat it. He eats it like a normal person. You eat escargot in one bite, guys. This is just how you do it. Yep. But he's like, no, I'm going to extend this into 6.
Just to torture the Yeerks.
It's not an insult to the Yeerks because they don't know that you know they're Yeerks. They just think you're a gross human. Like, I don't... It's so misplaced. Like, fuck. Anyways.
And so
teenagers.
Visser 3 stands up announcing that his company has arrived, which is weird. Why'd you sit down in the first place?
Yeah,
You already
like,
had
why'd you
company
join
coming.
them? What's up?
But whatever. And so they leave, and Jake's dad asks Jake, he's like, hey, do you want to come help work at the clinic for the weekend? Hang out with your old man? And Tom is like, no, he's coming to the what was the
sharing.
He's coming to the sharing. He's coming to the sharing. He can't go. He's like, no, I'll come help at the clinic. That's cool. So we cut to there. Jake is working at the clinic now. They're chatting on some ridiculous ass chat platform that takes the entire screen.
It's so unnecessary.
It looks like a joke screensaver that like a YouTuber puts up when they play like a synthwave song to make fun of synthwave.
Yes.
But it's not a joke.
Yeah, it's actually amazing, and I loved it.
Why did it take the whole screen? I don't understand it.
I mean, but let's be real, guys. When people are texting each other in modern day TV and movies, what we use to show that so that people, like the audience, can read what they're texting is not any better.
Fair enough.
Really.
Well, it's way cooler now. I mean, have you seen Sherlock?
Sherlock is the only one that does it cool. A lot of the other ones, it's still like, let's zoom the camera in on your text.
Yeah,
but at least it looks like a like a phone screen. That looks like they literally just made that computer page
Here's
in Microsoft
some word
Word.
art, and I emailed it to you. That's how we're chatting.
It was awful.
Quality.
And so they're talking with Jake, and this is a very boring conversation. They're like, oh, how's the job? Blah, blah, blah. What are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. It's really lame. And then all this is happening while Axe is just stuffing his fucking face.
Yeah.
And just acting in a way that nobody should ever act.
He's just screaming words.
Cool.
He knows what humans' teens are like. They take apart their hamburgers like animals, and they just scream cool in the middle of this video game food court.
It's really bad.
Jared.
Marco's really
This is a wonderful food.
This is in my top 10 food list.
Yeah, that's coming up. That's coming
up.
And also interjecting here because I have this in my notes, but fuck Marco and his hatred of hot dogs.
Yeah, Marco, where do you get off? Hot dogs are amazing.
Well, those are like mall hot dogs, though.
Dude, I had a 75-cent IKEA hot dog yesterday, and I still enjoyed the shit out of it.
Yeah. The only hot dog I don't enjoy is if it's $6 and it's not a Costco hot dog and it doesn't come with like a free car.
Boom.
Like
car.
Boom.
Oh my god.
What Costco's are you going to, Mikhail? Come on.
Yeah, I get a free car every time I go to Costco.
I can't stop eating them because I can't store all these fucking cars. Axe keeps eating, and Marco keeps taking care of him, quote unquote, taking care of him.
It's good because he likes Axe. Ella, it's cute.
We then cut back to Jake. Jake doesn't do any cutting. We then cut back to Jake.
We don't know
who's
that.
still working around his dad's clinic. And then all of a sudden, like, shit starts to go a little shady at the clinic. There's a bunch of like G-men showing up. There's a big security thing, and his dad is like, "Well, what's all this? I can't afford any of this." And apparently, for the opening of the clinic, which is happening like right away, the governor of unknown town, insert state here, is going to be like their first client, patient, something.
It doesn't look like any health clinic I've ever been to. Granted, all the health clinics I've been to look like a mall food court that's been closed for 30 years.
Accurate.
But this is like a weird, like, fancy building full of plants.
Mm-hmm. So we find out all the securities because the governor recently announced that he's going to run for president. So that I'm actually surprised. I'm like, wait a minute, that actually makes fucking sense.
Yeah.
Since when does anything on this show make sense? Where do we go to from there? I think then
we're in the barn.
Yes, we cut back to the barn.
They're making their plan.
Yeah, they're kind of figuring out like what they're gonna do to try and.
Because they figured that the governor's going to get infested, and that's why all the security is there. So they're like, oh no, we need to make sure we can get in there so that we can stop the governor from getting yeerked in the ear. Hey, we have this like blockbuster card that we can use to maybe we can use it to get through the doors. And Axe is like,
come here,
on my pectoral,
rub it on my titty. I'll fix that card up good.
That was the dumbest.
I hate it. I was so angry when I saw that.
And then
Holy
he's
shit.
like, oh no, it's okay, I'll fix it. So he runs his finger along the mag strip at the back, and it's like, this'll crack any code now.
Any human code.
Any human code now. Like,
and it's like, how?
This.
Also, if you think about it, why would it matter that it cracks a human code if it's aliens doing shit?
Well, I mean,
Exactly.
and that's what they find out later, where it doesn't fucking work at all.
And
Cassie's
nobody
like,
at all brings this up with
"It's
Axe
only
after. She goes,
human
oh, hey,
code."
Axe, you couldn't get it to fix a fucking Yeerk code, you dumb shit.
Yeah, and then he was like, "You guys actually tried that? I was fucking kidding. You thought I
You
could
just
fucking
rubbed it on,
Prank,
you
bro.
rubbed it on my tit, and then I wiped it with my finger. What'd you think?
I was hopped up on hamburgers and hot dogs. Like, this is just a friendly teen prank.
And so they figure out, they're like, oh, how do we get into the clinic? It's all swarmed with security. So they decide that they're going to acquire the DNA of a roach.
Yep, and Cassie just holds up this.
And of course, Marco has
plastic
to
roach.
chime in with his shitty 2 cents.
Yep.
You know how many diseases they get? Even Axe is like, fuck off, Marco. You get their DNA, not their diseases.
See, I don't defend TV Marco.
I know.
TV Marco does not deserve my defense.
It doesn't. He does not at all.
Book Marco, I would probably kill at least 3 or 4 people to defend.
I know. If I'm ever on for like an actual book guest star, I'm gonna talk shit about Marco and watch Mikhail just come to my house and kill me in my sleep.
Yeah, like a laser scope, one of those like laser sights just appears.
So they arrive at the clinic. They get to the clinic. We see the governor arrive, and it cuts up to just these 4 little rubber cockroaches sitting on top of the clinic.
That is the
hanging
best
out.
shot in the entire series.
It's adorable.
Because you know they had to like set that up with plastic roaches and just, yeah.
It was
Yep.
somebody's job that morning to get on a ladder
They were the
and
roach
sit
wrangler.
sit 4 rubber roaches on top of a building.
They were the. What
It's
if they actually
adorable.
used real roaches? Because if they did, then that person's job would literally be roach wrangler, because that's what you call them on TV sets. If they're any kind of animal wrangler,
That'd be pretty sweet.
wrangling roaches.
I don't think it is, but whatever. So they sneak in as roaches, and then for some reason they morph back to human.
Because I mean, the TV show wanted to use the human actors and not just throw these rubber roaches around. But it makes
Just a rubber roach tied to some fish lure, fish line.
I think it was because they also didn't know how they would get in or like what was going on. Plus, didn't they find out that they could do like those biofilters that would kill them and stuff like that in a recent episode?
Was that in the TV show Glee biofilters?
Yeah, I think
Is that the last
so.
one? It's been so
I
long.
don't remember
My
that
God,
at all.
May was
Jared, do you
forever
remember
ago.
the scene where they go to the Tom's Burgers?
Yes.
And you were so upset that his name was Tom, and he had a huge speech.
Yes.
Yes,
I remember
that's
this.
where they find out that the Yeerks have a technology to like fry DNA that they don't.
Oh shit! Yes, I remember that.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
Yeah.
that we can kind of
Because
justify
like
it then.
something like flew in and
It's a-
it disintegrated, didn't it?
It's a robot.
Yeah,
That was
It'll
it.
zap him.
they tried to fly in as flies, and it like blinded them or something.
Yeah, it was something
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'll give him that. So they sneak in and they're like wandering around. They see this security camera, so they duck into an office. Rachel decides that she's gonna go all Criminal Minds hacker on that shit.
Oh,
I
this is
know.
great.
But she opens the same chat page. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
Yeah, she opens it and it's like on the IM thing, and she clicks something like on the IM thing, and it opens a security camera footage.
That's how you hack, Mikhail. It's true. That's why they shut down MSN. That's why they shut down MSN Messenger.
Maybe they have like the most intense intranet fucking system in the entire world at that business, where literally every division and department is. You could probably access medical records through that website.
I'm sure you can. I'm
Yeah.
sure of it. So she hacks it and she figures out she like accesses the security camera, and for some reason it takes her like 3 minutes to figure out that there's a Yeerk pool in there. Like, I know nothing about this, and I'm like, oh fuck, that's a goddamn Yeerk pool. And she's like,
Yeah.
what is this? And it's scanning. What is this? It's a
Yeah,
Yeerk
it
pool.
takes
No
a-
shit.
Also, they're like great security cameras because then the security guard sees her in the room, but the security camera is set up so that you cannot see whose face of the person like on the computer.
All you had to, like, you should be like, wait a minute, the person in that office isn't blonde, and then he figured it out.
I mean, he knew that it was a person, but like he didn't know who it was, so they couldn't just go to the Yeerk police and be like, track down this infiltrator,
Yeah, fair enough.
because they didn't see her face. I mean, like, score 1 for the Animorphs, but it was a dumb mistake, you guys.
Well, they wouldn't like if we really want to like fucking argue about this fucking stupid point. They wouldn't have security cameras that face employees. It would be facing anyone coming into the building.
I don't even know why
Okay.
there would be security Yeah, there wouldn't be security cameras in the office
Oh,
for
okay.
whatever weird ass reason. Regardless, Jake, Cassie, and Marco are all like sneaking around the rest of this clinic, which again still does not look like a clinic at all.
It
but
looks like a weird hotel.
they find this one room that they're trying to get into, which is hydrotherapy. It says, and of
Which
course,
is what is that? What is that exactly?
a hot tub.
Probably with
Okay.
like minerals and shit.
No, I think it also is like it's good for if you physical therapy, like if you're trying to walk but you can't quite hold up all your weight or something, you go in water and then you can walk, but the water is supporting most of your weight. It's not.
Like a
I don't know.
sensory
I don't think.
deprivation chamber.
Oh my god! Get out!
Okay,
Of here.
maybe
I don't
it's-
think a hot
I was
tub is
thinking it was
hydrotherapy.
if you've ever been to like one of those really big like super malls, they occasionally have them. They look like big coffins with like a blue tarp over them, and then they put you in it, and it just like blasts water jets on the tarp, so you don't actually.
Yeah, I have
get
seen
wet.
that actually.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
Is that fun? It looks awful.
I don't know. It never looks fun because I always see it. And I'm like, it looks like they're just beating you really like slowly.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be some
It
kind of
look-
weird massage, maybe. I
Yeah.
don't know. Interesting.
Regardless, all this hydrotherapy is just a fucking. It's just a hot tub filled with Yeerks.
Which, okay, the guy pulls out this thermos and dumps sewage into the hot tub, which we assume is the Yeerk. And it's just a regular thermos. Like, can you imagine if you mixed up your coffee thermos and your Yeerk thermos and you accidentally drank
I
your
just
breath?
drank
Like,
9 Yeerks.
Okay, so was it Yeerks? Because I was confused about that. It looked like he was putting like a milkshake that melted. Or
It
something.
looked like he was pouring diarrhea
I think it
into
must
this
have been.
tub.
I think it must have been Yeerks, but yeah, they could have just put some fake
Look at-
slugs in there.
I assume so because they pulled it out of like the giant like radioactive
Yeah, it was biological waste
biohazard
thing.
that they have there.
Yeah.
And he pours it out. So Jake, Marco, and Cassie are all trying to get into this room. And shocker, the card doesn't work because like we said now, I'm sure Axe was just fucking with them.
Oh, for sure.
They all of a sudden hear Visser 3's walking down the hallway. They kind of like hear each other, so they quickly morph into Roach, and then they climb into the air vent after being chased by what I am 90% sure was a hotel maid for some reason in this clinic.
It's like, I thought it was a nurse, but her uniform could have been. I mean, it could also be just like how pixelated the episode was.
Maybe.
It was either like nurse or hotel maid or something.
Regardless, they run away and they climb into the vents, and then
They morph human for some reason.
Oh, because they were going to be sucked into the air vents.
Sucked into the air vents because of the air.
So they have to morph human, and of course, like 4 grown ass, like not grown ass, I guess 4 teenagers in a like air vent is not going to support that. So they fall through. Jake falls like fucking head first. Like Greg Louganis dives into that hot tub. And of course, I love that they like. You could tell they actually broke the roof because shit just keeps falling. Like when it's not supposed to, it's just like drop.
They just did it live.
Drop, shit.
You could actually hear the actors like, oh shit, call cut. No, we only had $2 to spend on this, and now it's broken.
We can't afford cuts, kid.
This ain't Hollywood. Fucking YTV or whatever.
Sean Ashmore almost actually drowned in there. It's crazy. So Mr. 3 then tries to get in. At this point, he's gotten the governor and is like, oh, come with me to the hydrotherapy room. It'll make you a new man.
The governor calls him Victor.
Yeah, I don't understand that. And I like fucking William, my boy William, the director, being like, fuck it. It's hilarious. That's take one.
Nobody at all stopped him and be like, why are you saying it like that? What do you mean? Never mind. Keep going.
Keep going.
Fuck it.
One take wonder.
So they're on their way like to the hydrotherapy room and they hear this big crash. So they're trying to get in. For some reason, their card doesn't work.
Maybe that's what Axis Peck did. Was he magicked the magic away from that card somehow?
Okay.
He did not explain that at all.
It didn't at all. Like, for some reason, he couldn't get into the room, and instead of like trying to slam it or something, like shoulder bash it, he just hits it with the palms of his hand a couple times.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, I thought about that too because I was like, oh, why don't you just like kick the door in? But then, what would that look like to the governor? Like, get this man his fucking hot tub right now.
Like, all of the people are just beating their hands against the door, and like that would get me side-eyeing.
Yeah.
It's so, and then Marco runs over and jams a chair underneath it so they can't get in, and they're just like pounding on the door.
Yeah.
And the governor's just there naked in a bathrobe, like, what the fuck is going on?
That was also really weird.
Yeah, that just like this soon-to-be president is cool to just hang out around all these other dudes just half naked.
Just with like only a thin layer of linen covering his junk.
He's just got his genitals hanging out.
Brayden, was that okay? Did you like that one?
Yes.
I just hear lighters going in the background. So yeah, they're dragging Jake's ass out of there, and then Rachel is just like, don't worry, guys, I got this. Morphs into a lion and tears out a motherfucker's jugular, I'm pretty sure.
The lion, this is not at all, this was a safe workplace for these actors to film, because this full-grown lion has got its paws on some dude's shoulders and its head just right there by the ear. Like, I don't care if that lion's trained, it's still a lion. How is this actor not dead?
Absolutely horrible.
That's the real reason why the TV show got canceled.
Somebody got eaten to death by a fucking lion. So before that, Marco destroys whatever the
big lights, the Condrona.
Yeah, the big light. Was that the Condrona? Okay.
That's what we're thinking, but it wasn't clear at all.
It really wasn't. But he smashes that, cranks the fucking water like to boil and kills the Yeerks, and then some lady comes in and it's like they reach in, and somebody's like, the water's boiling, so she just reaches her fucking arm in. Good Lord, woman, good God. So she pulls out a Yeerk and like, they're all dead. They're all dead.
But before that, the door opens, they finally get in, and the governor sees the lion, and then, the Yeerk thing, and then it cuts to the governor yelling at Victor Torrent, just like, you can't have a place that treats humans and animals?
Yeah, I like that his mind immediately went to like, the lion was probably getting medicine.
It wasn't like the lion was enjoying hydrotherapy.
Fuck, that was the dumbest ending of any episode I've ever seen. Just
and then, they managed to get out of the clinic, and that's basically the end of the episode.
It kind of cuts on YouTube like halfway through a sentence, so maybe there was like a split second where Jake smiled evilly as they were leaving, but yeah, it's just over.
Yeah, and that was episode 9. Fuck.
But it was pretty stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't awful as the TV show episodes.
Yeah,
go.
like this was one of the better episodes, I'd say.
Yeah.
It didn't have like a weird disc. That's for sure.
True.
It did have a part where they were like, I think they were trying to be stealthy when they unmorphed from roaches in the building, and they're hiding behind this fucking fern that has like one leaf, and it's like that
also,
is
like,
fucking useless.
At some point, like before the governor comes into the hydrotherapy room when Visser's in there, a dude walks in to like check the stuff. So he looks into the Yeerk pool, doesn't seem to notice anything. But then, like, he just grabs a plant and, like, lifts up the leaf.
Oh, yeah, he just grabs a plant and lifts up a leaf.
Okay.
Like, he was the governor, Secret Service.
Okay.
He walks in, he's checking things out, and he gets up and close and personal with this leaf and looks at it, and then talks to Victor about the setup for the hydrotherapy room. It's weird. Okay, why did they have all of these chirping sounds, like, in the music when the kids were morphed roach?
I don't.
Isn't that
The music in general was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that what, Brayden? You were going to say something?
It's like, I guess that's sort of, that's a noise that roaches make, right? Like a creak, like sort of a cricket noise.
I don't know. I've never listened to a roach.
I've literally never seen a roach in my life.
I saw one
Roaches,
once.
like, the noise that they make is just like the sound of them running across shit, but also there are roaches, like African roaches, that make like cat hissing sounds almost. It's almost like white noise.
That's
Yeah,
horrifying.
I've heard of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure the kids did not morph African hissing roaches.
No, pretty unlikely considering Cassie caught it in the barn.
Also we get some Easter egg dropped in this episode. Jeremy Jason McCall from the books has turned into Jason John McCall. He's briefly mentioned.
Do you think that's just to keep up with Jonathan Taylor Thomas?
Maybe.
I'm assuming so.
I don't know what.
Especially,
Maybe they got partial rights. They only got rights to the fact that kids turned to animals from an alien called Nandalite, but they didn't get rights to the fact that a character was named Jeremy Jason McCall.
But I mean, if you have the TV rights, you have rights to the whole property, I would hope.
I don't think so. I think they cut around what they have rights to.
That would be insane. If anyone knows the story of like the rights of the TV show versus the books, I would fucking love to hear that. Did you guys notice that Marco's hair changed?
They did. It got a little bit more toned down. It wasn't quite as greasy.
Yeah.
it doesn't look like he just got out of the shower.
Yeah, it was less of in his face like a spider would be, and more he looks more like a biker kind of with the like a 1960s biker where it's all slicked back over his head.
He looked almost more like a normal person.
Yeah, people have those haircuts today even. It's kind of gross, personally, but
yeah, that was fuck.
I'm trying to think what else from this. I did notice that Cassie and Jake had a little bit of a moment when Cassie was pulling him out of the pool.
Yeah.
She was like freaking out and everyone's like, "Oh, better save Jake." And she's like tears streaming down her face. She's like, "Oh my god!" And Michael's like,
And then they all
make sure
take
you pull
turns
him
to
out.
slap him in the face to wake him up.
And it was really fun because they were talking. Like Cassie was just yelling, like, "Get him out of here! Get him out, Jake! Get him out of here!" And then Marco like actually kept his head and like in thought speak was like, "Okay, I jammed the door. We should get out of here."
No, because you can't thought speak in human form.
I swear, it sounded exactly like the voiceover for thought speak.
Really? I didn't catch that. Interesting. Interesting.
That could have been like an editing mistake. Like maybe
Could
originally he was in a morph or something.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe.
Brayden in the notes has marked his outrage over the Yeerks being literally just slugs.
Yeah.
Like they're like garden slugs.
Yep.
Like banana slugs, basically.
It's the dumbest shit.
It's really bad.
Like all this other green screen bullshit, bad looking morph effects, and you couldn't just make like just a fishy little sea squid. You couldn't come up with anything. You had to just go to the back of your garden, scoop it into your hand, and then throw it on set.
Also, I feel like oozing like shitty ooze stuff is something that we nailed in like the 80s. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like this is
Yeah.
a perfect practical effects.
I mean,
Prop.
to be fair, y'all, the TV show had a budget of $30, and they spent that on the lion.
Okay, like the first, like the original Star Trek series had like they made an alien just by taking someone's dog and putting it in a cute little costume.
It's true. I remember hearing about that.
It was adorable. Yeah, these guys can't like.
Too.
Yeah, these guys can't like take a pipe cleaner and put it on a slug to make it look weird.
Just take a pipe cleaner to a slug as it scrunches around.
That's not my job, but shit. Like, I'm sure somebody could think up something.
Like a plastic bag full of Jell-O or something, and then just covered in ooze.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking, I would buy that. Like, that makes more sense to me. Shit.
Anyway, do we want to move on to episode 2?
10.
Yes, because we're gonna. Well, it's part 2.
Part 2,
which
sorry.
is
Part 2,
10.
episode 10.
Part 2.
More like fart 2. Oh my god, the jokes never end. Okay.
Wow.
This one was also written by Will Fruitt, my boy. Or sorry, directed by Will Fruitt and written by, again, Neil Shusterman. But they had to bring in a ringer for this one. Also written by Mark Scott Zicree. Am I saying that right? Zicree? It looks like Zicree. This one came out November 16th, so the following week in 1998. So, we pick up pretty much immediately. There was no intro in this one.
No
Thank
intro.
God, because they got them all out of the way in episode 9.
Yeah, it's funny because it's like, I appreciate it watching them in a row. I feel like that would have been so confusing. Like,
Oh, totally. If you had to wait a week to see this when you were younger, like, I'd be like,
or
what the
especially
fuck?
if you didn't see part 1 because you're a kid and it's fucking cable TV. If
Yeah.
you didn't see part 1 and you didn't know the story from the books, it's like, what is happening
the hell
right
is
now?
going
Yeah.
on?
Yeah. Anyways, they meet up with Tobias and Axe because Tobias and Axe didn't come with them to the clinic. They meet up with them at the barn. Everything seems pretty normal. Jake is acting pretty normal. Nothing weird. But then all of a sudden, he scratches his ear and Axe is like, triggered, and he fucking tackles Jake because, I don't know, there was a dramatic musical cue also, and maybe Axe heard that. I don't know, whatever. But
I mean, but as soon as Jake walks in, Axe already knows he's different. And I think what happened is that Jake would never have his hair go flat.
It's accurate.
that's true.
very
His hair looks like shit.
It
It looks so
awful.
bad.
Please put a little bit of gel in it.
It looks like they put gel into it, but then they just like pushed
Gelled
it
it
straight down to the side of his head.
His head, yep.
Anyways, they obviously think Axe is crazy, but Axe is like, nah, something's clearly wrong. He scratched his ear. So it means he's a Yeerk, just like
You
Tom.
humans
That's
are
how
so
we figured that out.
easily manipulated.
Yeah. So Axe morphs just his hand into his so he's in his human morph, obviously.
Well, because they say, like, okay, you know what? To test this, Jake shake Axe's hand. A Yeerk would
Yeah.
never shake an Andalite's hand.
Which is the stupidest thing.
Who decided that was the like litmus test for Yeerk?
I like to think the Yeerk was in Jake's head, just being like, did they really fucking think of that? Shit, this is easy as hell.
But then Cassie does say, like, okay, we need to starve the Yeerk out. And then Jake's like, are you sure you want to do that? That would kind of suck for me. And Cassie's like, the real Jake would say we should do this, even if he wasn't Yeerked. You fucking Yeerk! And then they tie him up.
Which this goes on for like 3 minutes too, because they're like, the real Jake would be down for this. The real Jake wouldn't question this. The real Jake would, like, oh my god.
Holy, right?
That actually does make a lot of sense. She could have just said it, and we, as the audience, I feel like we would have accepted it right away.
Yes, definitely. Because, like, Jake hates the fucking Yeerks more than most. Like,
right. And then we get, I don't know who thought this was a good idea. We get Jake talking to the Yeerk in, like, dream space.
Like a purple magic sludge land.
Because they tie the controller Jake to a chair, and then in Jake's mind, he's tied to a chair and his hair is like styled up, so we know it's the real Jake. And he's spinning in a blue void while the Yeerk talks to him. And it's like, what is this? This is like that one moment in Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring with all the smoke and the weird green screening. It's like, what's
I'm sorry,
going
but
on?
that was like actually pretty cool in Lord of the Rings.
yeah. Yes.
Am I wrong?
It was.
Yeah.
It was. Tessa, false equivalencies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, I was even thinking, like, when they were filming that, why didn't they just do a black room with just a spotlight on Jake, and it's like he can hear himself.
So much cheaper.
Like,
It
do
would've
some
been so
fucky
much
camera
cheaper.
moves. Do some fucky camera moves. Like, it would have been fine.
And that way you can do like wide shots that make him seem like alone in his own head. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's just so much shit they could have done for cheaper that would have been more effective.
Like
than...
this, like a sunken place kind of thing. Like, come on, man.
Totally.
Anyways, so yeah, they tie Jake to a chair. Jake is talking to the Yeerk, and the Yeerk's just being like, "Your friends are at my whim. They'll never figure me out."
Also, I don't know who voiced this Yeerk, but I dug his fucking voice.
Really, I just loved it. I loved it a lot.
Yeah, that was a great one.
So so obviously, if they're going to tie Jake up for 3 days to starve the Yeerk out, that's how long it takes to starve a Yeerk. Axe has to take his place so that his family doesn't freak out and like call an Amber Alert. So we get one of those beautiful moments of like an actor playing a character playing another character. Like the
very
Beatrix
good.
Lestrange scene where Hermione, or like Emma Watson is playing Hermione, who is then playing Bellatrix Lestrange, who has been played by Helena Bonham Carter. Do you know what I mean? But then has to pretend to also be herself while in real life actually being Helena Bonham Carter. Anyways, I love shit like that. It's amazing. Yeah.
Fucking Sean Ashmore actually did a pretty good job. Because, like, he
sold
down to,
it.
like, his facial expressions and everything, he always had that goofy looking face.
Like his big wide eyes, just like looking everywhere. And Marco's
This is
telling him,
why-
"Okay, think about girls and sports." And he's like, "Huh, Tom, here's some women weightlifting. Watch it with me."
And I have it down in my notes, too. I'm like, oh, yeah, ask Marco what a normal human person thinks about. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, guy doesn't like hot dogs. You can't trust him.
For real.
Jake, or rather Axe as Jake. So Sean Ashmore pretending to be Axe, pretending to be Jake. Anyways, I think he's eating mashed potatoes. And he's like, "Is it mashed potatoes?" And he's like,
It's
"This is on my
something.
top 10 food lists." And
He is loving it.
He doesn't even say this. He says this stuff.
Yep.
yeah.
This stuff is on my top 10 foods list. And, like, his mom and dad are just like, well, that's a little odd, but don't think really anything else of it.
You know, sometimes teenagers are weird.
What if Axe had a blog of just like him tasting foods?
Oh my god.
my
Kate,
God.
the crossover everyone's waiting for, Aximili Esgoroth Isthil and Charles Boyle. Talking about food. It'd be amazing.
I would subscribe to that.
All right.
The mouthfeel would be off
Guys,
the
I think you guys
charts.
just came up with the next series. What would be on Axe's top 10 food list?
There is a really long part where he's like eating an artichoke leaf by leaf, and it's like, holy fuck, I need to
This
see
whole
that
dinner
right now.
scene is so long.
If I'm not mistaken, isn't this the part where the dinner scene? Yeah, the music at the dinner scene. It's really good. I was fucking into it. I don't know if you guys were. Or
I
not.
don't
I
remember
didn't
it in all honesty.
notice
Yeah.
it, but I mean, that means it was good because it wasn't so bad that it made me notice it.
Yeah, it
If
was
that
like
makes
I was
sense.
listening. I'm like, fuck. There's is it patron? I think it's Spencer in our Discord who always says this tune slaps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm gonna adopt that. That is a fucking awesome turn of phrase. Anyways, the song at the dinner scene fucking slaps. So at the barn after the dinner scene, or I think it's kind of intercut with the dinner actually, but Jake is talking to Cassie. And he's like, "Oh, babe, like, fucking, you really don't trust me?
Remember
Wow,
when
these
we
ropes are
first
so
met?
tight."
You slob my
yeah.
knob under the bleachers.
Oh, fuck. There's this gay, and then there's a part where she like goes to lean down to like sort of loosen, I think, the ties around his feet, and the way it's filmed, fucking Will, what are you doing? It's filmed like at a top angle looking down, and she like kneels in front of him and his legs are spread open, and it's like
They're 13, man. They're 13.
yeah. And then the worst part is that's an act break for a commercial. Or so it like cuts away and it's like, oh Jesus.
I just picture a parent walking in to like their kid watching this on YTV back in 1998 and just being
right, it's
like,
awful.
like, what the fuck are you watching? It's Animorphs, Mom. You don't get it.
It's sci-fi.
Yeah. Ugh. Anyways, whatever. She gets even more manipulated by Jake somehow and then comes to her senses, basically.
Well, because like Jake like freaks out and grabs her arm.
Yeah, he's like trying to get control and like moves his hand.
Also, then there's like a really quick shot of Axe as Jake at school, and his teacher's like, "Holy shit, Jake, you're you were smart before, but holy fuck. Like, do you fuck now? Because you're way smarter than you were before.
And he says specifically, you've improved so much over these 3 days. So we just instantly cut to 3 days later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, does that mean, like, a teacher is like, hey, you did good on this one assignment. You're way smarter now. Like, in 3 days? How much work?
He, like, because they're leaving class, and the teacher's like, oh, Jake, can you stay here for a minute? And then Marco just tags along, and the teacher does not say anything.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, Marco, get the fuck out of here. What are you doing?
Well, because the teacher wanted to brag to Marco, too, that Jake calculated pi to 100 points, which is like, we already know the numbers. Does it mean he just memorized them?
Yeah, like, you memorized. You didn't, like, you could back calculate knowing, like, the area of a circle or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, is that impressive? That's just long division. Like, what are you doing? I don't understand who thinks that's a cool thing.
Then how smart
really
was
low.
Jake before then, really?
The teacher's standards were really low. Jake knew what a plus sign was.
Jake, 4 days ago, you were shoving pencils up your nose, and now you did this.
And now you did not
Great
even-
job.
Okay, we cut back to the barn. Jake is now with Tobias, and now he's full Yeerk. Like,
Yeah,
he's
he's
just like,
dropped
all right, I've been
pretense.
discovered. And he's like, oh, you pussy Nothlet, like stuck in the Tobias, or in the bird morph. If you were Yeerk, you could have multiple bodies. And it's like, what are you trying to prove here? Like, it's like, you're just trying to antagonize him for no reason. Anyways, Tobias
He
flies
was really
away.
shitty for him.
Also, question, how the fuck do you Yeerk a hawk?
I don't think he was
Very
saying
carefully.
necessarily that we would put a Yeerk in your body. Was he?
It was something about we can
more
get your
or
human
less.
body back. I don't know how though.
I think maybe if he morphed a Yeerk.
But he can't.
Permanently?
He can't morph. He's a Nothlet.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can't
right.
give a
So-
Nothlet morphing powers.
Anyways, Tobias flies away pissed off. Rachel gets there. It cuts to later that night where Rachel's falling asleep. Then the Yeerk in Jake's body morphs a dog, which apparently means that you're not tied up anymore. Because he just like phases through the ropes. And like, I am a dog now, sir. Anyways,
they didn't
As we all know,
Rubber
you can't
roaches
tie
again.
up a dog.
books are art. You can't tie up a dog. So they catch him.
God damn it. I wish I could laugh harder at that.
The gang, it was like a trick. Like, Rachel wasn't really sleeping. I have no fucking clue what this proves because they already knew he was a Yeerk. So what the point of like entrapping him? Oh, you
They
know
said
what?
something near the end
Yeah.
about finding, and now we know the direction towards the entry of a Yeerk pool.
Yeah, which is like, okay.
Oh, I
Wow,
totally
a
missed
general
that.
direction.
I mean, no, because he sees all the people walking single file into the Yeerk pool, so I guess they know
Like
the
they
entrance.
do.
But like, I totally missed that sentence. I thought they were just
No,
trying
they
to
do
like,
explicitly say, now we know another entrance to the Yeerk pool, is what they say.
Oh, okay. I thought they just knew a general direction. I'm like, oh, great. It's somewhere east.
It's somewhere here. Also,
Anyways,
it's like we have a lion, and then we have a horse, and then we have a wolf, and then we have Axe in his human morph, and it's like, okay.
I like how that was his intimidation, too. He's like, I'm going to be a 12-year-old boy.
Well, wasn't it at first he appeared as Jake? And then they do a cut where it's like Jake looking at Jake, and it's like, bum bum.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it goes Jake and, like, back to Axe.
Yep.
Also, did you notice that Axe morphed into Jake wearing the same clothing?
Yeah, that's fucked.
It's like, what?
Yeah.
Acquired clothes in the TV show. That's what it's
Also,
saying.
after 3 days, he's wearing the same outfit.
It's so
Okay,
gnarly.
in all fairness, he's a
sense.
teenager. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
it's true. I wear the same outfit all the time, and I'm not a teenager anymore. Or am I?
So while they're confronting Jake, Jake has a headache, and the Yeerk spits out of his ear and dies instantly. That's it.
Doesn't he also kind of stomp
Yeah,
on
he
it?
stomps on him. Because at one
It's so dumb.
point, like in his dreamscape, he was like, "You're gonna end up a stain on my shoe, bitch."
And the Yeerk just looks like, I don't think they even bought a slug. I think they just bought some, like, dollar store fake dog poop.
Or like a piece of Hubba Bubba that they put brown food coloring in. And that's the end of it. There's a last scene at the end where, well, it's kind of like two parts of the same scene, but Cassie and Jake are talking feelings while there's like this like Sarah McLachlan song or something playing in the background.
Yeah.
I think they're at the mall again.
They're at the mall,
Yeah.
yep.
Yeah, and it's like blah blah blah. It sucks. I hate being I hate having a brother that's a Yeerk and shit like that. Who cares? Jake then calls Tom after Axe puts like a voice changer on it, and he's like, "Oh, don't give up." And then Tom's like, "Oh, that's a fucked up thing to hear." And his hand shakes, so presumably Tom, the real Tom, is fighting with the Yeerk,
fighting back.
We should just have Braden say over that phone call, because he already sounds like he has a voice changer on.
Nice.
And then Tom just walks away, which is sort of like, personally, if I was like a high-ranking Yeerk and someone was like basically saying, "I know you're a Yeerk and I care about your host's safety and well-being," it's like, well, time to start a fucking investigation on who knows I'm a Yeerk.
Yup. Hey, my little brother was acting really fucking weird the last little bit.
Like, there's just so many things, and I would not be surprised if Tom never looked into it.
I mean, from everything I've seen so far, Tom's kind of an idiot either way.
I mean, we know.
Yeah.
So the Yeerk that was I was going to say Jared, I'm so sorry. The Yeerk that was in Jake's head knew Tom and talked about Tom suffering. So obviously he was Tom's old Yeerk. So maybe Tom's new Yeerk is just an idiot. And like,
Also
oh,
possible.
that was weird.
Wow, funny. What is this thing on my ear? Holy shit.
I feel like there's sort of a culture among the Yeerks of not going to higher ups if they feel like they're failing, because they'll probably get killed if like Wizard 3 hears like, "What? You failed your mission? Slash."
Yeah, that's a good point.
That does make sense.
Okay.
Damn it, Braden, you and your goddamn logic.
Yeah.
Okay. My biggest thing is I wish the Shawn Ashmore's hair just gelled straight up as soon as the Yeerk jumped out of him. That would have been so good.
Just to show the transformation, like in going back
Like
to
a
Lord
Super
of the Rings.
Saiyan.
Yeah, like going back to Lord of the Rings, as soon as like Saruman's influence is left off, like his hair just like shortens.
And like he
And it
has
turns
like
golden
a
again.
shower and his teeth
Yeah.
are better and his skin's looking clear. Like, damn.
Why can't this just be Lord of the Rings? Why?
You know
You're on the wrong
what? Let's start
podcast,
a Lord
man.
of the Rings podcast.
Fuck Animorphs, Lord of the Rings.
Hell yeah.
We watched the Lord of the Rings TV show. Yeah.
I do like the part where like Jake is like, "Oh, I don't," or like the Yeerk is like, "I don't need to pretend to be Jake anymore," and the look on his face is like, what's that scene? Remember in The Grinch when he does like the really evil smile that like
Oh,
The
yeah.
fills
super
his
Jim
entire
Carrey
face?
smile.
Yeah.
No, the
The
cartoon.
cartoon
the
one where it's
cartoon.
the whole
Yeah.
face.
Err.
His mouth is like takes up his entire face, and it's like that is ridiculous. Like it just looks so stupid. Oh man, I wish he had tried harder to pretend to not be a Yeerk.
I can't believe he didn't try morphing until day 3 and he was like hours away from death. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
do
like,
it earlier, dude. But I feel like they spent like 20 pages with Axe like rubbing at Jake's ear and like yelling at him, and they're trying to shake hands, and then they realize, shit, the episode's almost over. 5 pages to wrap it up.
the other thing too is like this was actually an Axe narrated episode,
Yeah.
which is just like, first of all, why? I don't understand that, because they don't seem to
Yeah.
care about like continuity with the character narrators. Second of all, there's a lot of shit that Axe didn't see that we see. So
It's true. It
okay.
was kind of strange that he was the quote unquote main focus of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But was barely really there.
But I think that's why the Axe scenes are way longer. Like the dinner scene is like 15 minutes. Like it's so long.
It's so long.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You know, I didn't think of it that way, but that makes sense. That it would weigh more heavily to the narrator. But then make Marco the narrator and have him hang out with Jake, and then also be babysitting Axe.
Yeah, I agree. That would have been a much better choice.
I mean,
Turns out this show makes a lot of mistakes. Okay.
I mean, I will never, I will never endorse giving Marco any more time on the show than he needs. It is absolutely necessary.
I'm hoping he'll redeem himself at some point.
Also, we also
Yeah.
totally missed the best fucking insult in this entire goddamn episode.
yeah.
When he goes to shake his hand, Jesus Christ, when Jake goes to shake Axe's hand at the beginning to prove that he's not a controller, he goes shake his hand. He goes, "I'd rather kiss a Dork-Bajir," and then he just like turns away.
That is such a good part of that
Fucking
show.
wonderful. I'm going to say that all the time, and nobody's going to understand it at all.
Yeah, no.
I mean, there's enough people in the world that there are people who want to kiss a Dork-Bajir.
I mean, I'm sure if we got Braden, this seems like your area of expertise. Where is this horrifying corner of the internet?
Brayden, you've always wanted a fucking alien.
Yeah, but like a hot sort of like alien who just doesn't look like a white person.
So, are you trying to say... I'm not going to say that. That makes you sound like a fucking devil man. And not the show Devil Man, but just the cartoon insult I made
It
up.
does kind of make me sound like Devilman the show, too.
Well, I was going to say, is it because foreign people seem like aliens to you?
Oh... Anyway, next week...
That's cool. No, it's not. I'm calling the police.
What are we talking about next week, Mikhail?
Okay, fine. I'll move on. This has been going on for way too long anyways.
Way too long.
Next week, we will be talking about just one episode of the show, because it's not a part 1, part 2 business, but it's the reaction, the one where Cassie, I guess, for some reason, instead of Rachel, like the books, morphs a crocodile. It's basically literally the book, The Reaction, except it's Cassie instead for some reason.
There's a couple small changes, but we'll get into it next week.
Jeremy Jason McColl's name changes. That's it.
That's a huge part.
It's a huge part, integral to the plot. Anyway.
Jared, where can we find your business?
You can find more of me at collectivelegacy.org. You can also find me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. 2 nerds in a basement across the board there. Like I said, we're also on iTunes and all that good stuff.
Podcatchers everywhere. Every one of us here has been on his podcast. Like, Mikhail did Spider-Man. Braden did one of the old
Superman 4.
Superman 4. Didn't he also do Old Captain America?
Nope.
No, that was someone else. But I did Catwoman, which was awesome.
Is that the Halle Berry Catwoman?
The Halle Berry Catwoman.
Fuck that movie.
They use makeup as defense and also to attack. It's great. It's for women.
You know the movie was bad because they didn't even want to call her Selena Kyle.
Yeah, no, it's some other random person.
Awful. Yeah, but yeah, give us a check out there. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'm much more active on Twitter now than I was previously, and am now more so than Instagram, so feel free to follow us on there.
And you can find more of our stuff on our podcast page at collectivelegacy.org. And we've also got the Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook stuff. Full of memes. Memey goodness.
Remember to subscribe on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, or else I'll give you my cold. I'll lick you right on the fucking eyeball.
Oh, God.
Subscribe.
Worst kind of torture.
Subscribe.
You can also show your support for our show at our Patreon page, patreon.com/DORKBAJIR.
Dork-Bajir.
Dork-Bajir. We offer special bonuses for patrons, like access to our Discord server, Animorphs essays written by us, and much, much more.
And one of the special things you get for being a patron, first off, like, don't be a patron unless you can. All that good stuff. Don't feel guilty for not giving us money. It's blah 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 blah.
Well, feel a little guilty.
No.
Well, I will kill you.
We like to give a shout out to some of our patrons by playing the Animorphs title game. So we got all of our patrons up here. We're going to say the name and give them the title of an Animorphs book or TV show. Starting with Mikhail.
Shout out to Steam Driven, the locomotive.
And Yanka, the forgiven.
Spencer, the soap.
Shanna, Shanna the Shantastic.
Greg Della Posta, the triple.
Andrew Vila, the Vila.
For the Phantomorphs, my name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Braden. I'll be better by next week.
Yeah, we'll see.
And my name's Jared. Feel free to give us a listen on 2 Nerds in a Basement. I will be back, I'm sure, to watch more of this horrible TV show.
Yeah, baby. This has been a Phantomorphs of the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
do you want to eat right now? Jinx.
I'm Mitch.
And I'm Sophie. And this is
We Watch Food,
a podcast all about the food we like to watch.
We'll talk all about the best, the craziest, and the tastiest TV, movies, and YouTube channels.
Not to mention trendy food fads and sumptuous food trivia.
Plus, we end every episode with a recipe from one of us.
So join us every Saturday for a new episode and a new insight into what makes us watch so much food.
You can find us at collectivelegacy.org, as well as a bunch of other awesome podcasts.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at We Watch Food.
And on Twitter at We Watch Food Pod. So I've been Mitch.
I'm Sophie.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy.
a podcast network.